Okay, wow. Welcome everybody to the After Hours, normally with the Krug. I'm your guest host, Cody Limbaugh, with liveallyourlife.com. Got an awesome panel here for you, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves. Being the After Hours, we're not going to keep it real formal here, but we've got some cool topics that we want to touch on, and then we'll just see where it goes from there. All right? So, Randall, I think we'll start with you because I've actually never got to meet you before, so welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, Cody, it's good to meet you, man. I've actually seen a little bit of your work on the network because, like, the first week, you were on the first week, right? Cody?
Yes, yeah, I was.
You started out with the network, yeah. So the first week I tried to watch every show. I don't know if I watched them all, but I tried to watch every show. And I think there's some shows I haven't seen since then, but it's cool to meet you. And I guess you want me to give an introduction, right?
Yeah.
So my name's Randall Parker Jr. I am the host of Road to Liberty and the CoinPros Crypto Talk Hour. So I have two shows on the network on voluntary virtues. And my Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time slot show is Road to Liberty. Talk about kind of the process of going from statist to philosophical volunteers. Not even just like fashion volunteers, but like I actually get it. And I'm not even saying I'm at the end of the road either, but it's about that journey. And then the Wednesday show, we just talk about Bitcoin and the future of money, and also what the blockchain itself. We might get into a little bit later in the show, but the blockchain itself is not Bitcoin. It's part of Bitcoin, but it's more than Bitcoin. And a lot of people are looking at Bitcoin and they're not seeing the forest for the trees, so to speak. But I'll leave it at that for my intro.
Cool. And Garrett?
I've been on Voluntary Virtues Network for a while. I've hosted a show called Breaking Down the Political System. On the occasion, it seems, if my other panelists or my other hosts want to show up with me, that would be nice. But yeah, that's about it. I'm admin on Sadism and Slavery as well, and I'm excited to hear about these guys on the network because I really haven't been following all the things that have been coming out, so it's exciting. 700 or 800 subscribers now, like, this is crazy. Good work, guys.
Yeah, very cool. And like 80 of them are co-hosts or hosts on the channel. No, it's awesome. It's awesome. I'm digging the background, by the way.
Oh, thanks, Ben.
Cool.
Yeah.
Picked up on the weekend.
Right on. Chuck, you want to give the good folks a little intro and tell them about your show and etc.?
Yeah, sure. Hey guys, what's up? It's Chuck the Liberty Geek. I'm just working on my lower half as we speak. But so I have a show from 9 to 9:30 Eastern on Voluntary Virtues Network. It's basically kind of sort of how nerd culture, various forms of nerd culture, you can't just group it all into one, but how various forms of nerd culture that specifically I love, how they meet voluntarism, anarcho-capitalism, and non-aggression, and so, and I've loved being on here ever since. So thanks for having me.
You bet. Yeah, good to have you. How's my volume, guys? Is that better? I got that stuff fixed.
Really loud.
Really loud, huh?
Yeah.
A little bit better than before.
I apologize for that.
Boomy. It's just kind of boomy, that's all.
I apologize, guys. If I could fix it, I would. I went to the control room, and every time if I go any lower than this, I'm just off. So this is what we get. I will try not to yell. And the more I drink, the louder I'll
Google
get.
Hangouts is free.
That's right. That's right. So let's get into some of the topics today. The first thing that I brought up was an article. Did anybody have a chance to read either one of the articles that I posted here? Or you get a chance to look at those?
I had a chance to look at the first one. I know a little about the first one, yeah.
Cool. So basically, it's a program in New York that is it gives people a reward for, well, it's supposed to be giving people a financial incentive to turn in crimes that they witness. $500, to turn in somebody who's breaking the law. However, there's an actual incident of a Army surplus store clerk who reported a cop who was posting signs on the door for people to turn in anyone that they suspect of terrorist activities. Basically, the list includes all sorts of legal things like buying ammunition, buying cigarettes, or munitions, food prepping, and that kind of thing, to basically turn them in and get a financial reward for that. Now, turn them in for what? I don't know, but that's basically the gist of the article. Interestingly enough, that article has gone somewhat viral, and the store has been getting inundated with calls. I actually read that about a week ago. I meant to bring it up on the show, and we didn't have time. This week, as I reposted, I saw all these updates. Like, this store is just getting inundated with phone calls from people bitching about it or inquiring about the details and that kind of thing. So, I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I'll
It's
start.
pretty.
Oh, never mind.
Go ahead. Sorry, Chuck.
No, you go first.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay. I was just gonna say it's pretty typical snitchery. Snitches get snitches, snitches get stitches. Is that what I was trying to say? Yeah. I mean, the state loves people to be tattletales because it means they can have their cops slack off more and eat more donuts and show more in parking lots because everyone's telling on everyone else. And plus, it creates this reinforcement of like, well, the state is so right that we have to like enforce it ourselves. Like, we're all cops. I feel like that the state would love if we all felt like we should be cops. Does that make any sense?
No, I get it.
That makes their job a lot easier. They don't have to pay anybody.
Yeah.
Well, technically they are. Technically, I mean, $500, which not that much.
I have another thing too. I'm sorry. Before you skip me, sorry, Chuck, because Chuck is going to have something to say about this. Doesn't it remind you of the FBI things, like on pirating games, like back in the day, like when you'd like load up a Windows game, like with the CD and everything, and be like, pirating is illegal. If you see anyone pirating, please report them to the FBI.
And they did it with all
And
the
it's
movies
like,
too.
really?
Yeah.
I would joke with my friends and be like, oh, dude, I'm gonna report you. I got the number. I'm calling them.
Yeah, they do it with the movies too, but like, it's so ridiculous. But especially when it's like the FBI gets involved, it's like, really, you guys don't have anything better to do? Like, aren't you guys supposed to be protecting the nation from allegedly murders and drugs and allegedly all that other stuff? And it's like, oh no, you pirated that game, you pirated that movie, and now it's like, oh, you legally bought those cans of food and that ammunition, which by the way is all legal.
Should be.
It is. I'm
What's
pretty
legal?
sure buying food is not illegal. Surviving is
Take
not
it again,
illegal.
Chuck.
I guess,
There's
yeah.
so much type of food that you can't get.
Okay,
Raw
you're
milk,
right. You're right. Okay, let me rephrase.
Cannabis treats.
Buying
They're
the
only legal in
food,
2 states.
buying the food that they have on the list is not illegal.
True that.
Yeah, the whole thing is ridiculous. And one point that the article made too, it's a pretty liberty-friendly news piece. And but the other point was too is that this is just a form of conditioning. It's a real conditioning tool to get neighbors to start ratting on each other, just even for suspected, suspicious behavior of being kind of a fringe guy. Oh, that guy's collecting food and ammo, and he's a wacko, and it kind of gets this mindset into people that they really should be policing each other. It's pretty sick, actually.
It's kind of also informative too, in the sense of like, I kind of like to watch the state like a science experiment. Like, I'll watch like state media like CNN.
So
or
what
Fox,
exactly is the punishment after the like from getting caught here? I haven't had a chance to really see the outer.
From what I've seen,
what happens to these preppers when they get ratted up?
It's a good question.
That article actually didn't say. Can you guys hear me all right?
yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, the article didn't actually say that the preppers were having any sort of legal action taken against them. It's literally almost just like information gathering. Like they just want to keep an eye on them. They're probably being added to some federal list or some BS. I mean, this is in New York, so
Okay.
you know how it is there. So yeah, I think that they're just being, kind of on a suspect list, and I think it's just a collection of information lists to the point where if these people get in trouble for something else, that this can just be piled on to a case against them. If they get caught with some pot in their pocket or something like that.
Well, that's the profiling of preppers as domestic terrorists is definitely happening for sure. You can kind of see it with just how they're playing out all the gun things that are going down, like Justin Bork or whatever. How he was a revolutionist kind of guy, one of the people that was fighting against the cops. He was kind of in that group, being a man of the land. When he went out that day, you can totally see how they're trying to profile anybody who wears camo and has a gun. Is that type of person, I guess.
Yeah, and the other thing too is I feel like, what are preppers prepping for? Most of the preppers that I've heard of are I'm not really a prepper, but in my mind, I guess I kind of am a prepper because I am preparing for some shit to happen. But I think preppers are mostly preparing for crazy things, but that's the whole problem. Because you can associate the people that are prepping for government tyranny with the people that are prepping for alien invasion and prepping for 2012 plate tectonic shifting, and there's too many kinds of preppers. So by saying let's watch out for preppers, that's a way for them to say let's keep a track on anti-government people without saying we're keeping a track on anti-government people.
Well, even then, Randall, I mean, there's also the other issue of there's a case of, a lot of these preppers might be crazy or prepping for crazy things, it's still their right to prep for these crazy things.
It's my right to call them crazy too.
No, I'm not saying that, but it's their right to prep for crazy things. So it's once again, they're doing something which even the state has deemed legal, and then goes and turns around and says, "Look at that person! He's such a bad person."
But Chuck, I could hire you to go rat on everybody I wanted you to rat on.
So
all right, Chuck,
Mormons
out of the bus stop.
Considered preppers, you think?
The Mormon?
Mm.
Why?
I would say they fit all the criteria. I mean, I have family members.
They have to. Well, isn't it part of?
Well, they collect ammo, they collect food. Mormons are very much into prepping. For what, I don't know, because I never bothered to ask. But they absolutely fit the criteria.
That just sounds like being smart, though. I mean, if you said to a prepper, "Why are you prepping?" and they said, "Just so I have enough supplies in case something goes wrong," that would be the most rational answer I can imagine. If they said, "Well, the crazies are coming," or something, or the zombies, then I'm all right, well, you're entitled to your prepping. That's cool, but I don't want to be within a quarter mile of you because you're probably gonna blow something up soon. You know what I mean? You're a lunatic. There's no zombies coming.
And the point of having the prepping thing is so that it's secret, right? You don't want people knowing that you're a prepper. You don't want people knowing you've got all that food in your basement. It's the same thing with bomb shelters back in the day. When you build bomb shelters, you don't tell anybody that you have a bomb shelter. And
you don't
the
want
government is invading their kind of right to private.
No, I was gonna say that.
I understand.
Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that you don't tell anyone because you don't want people, just diving in on your. Hey, can I live? If the nuclear fallout happens, you'd be like,
right.
Can I live here? I've been such a good neighbor to you.
I have a related topic too. I was driving from my home in New Mexico to Colorado today and back, and I was going past. It's just one long ass road for about 250 miles, pretty much. But I'm going past this one part of the giant field that I was driving through the whole time, and there's this little indented part of the ground that looked suspicious. It's all nature, and then it just looked like it all kind of went in a nice shape. I'm like, that's fucking weird. And I'm driving by, and then in the center of it, it's a different color, gray, kind of like cement or something. And I'm driving, I'm not going to stop and check it out. I'm going 65 miles an hour. But I'm like, that's a fucking underground bunker. That I just drove past an underground bunker. That's what that was. And I don't know. I mean, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but that's what it looked like. That's a good place for one. No one's looking for it.
Huh?
Wow, no
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not gonna rat on him though. I'm not gonna tell anyone. Guys, I didn't say where it was. Exactly. I didn't say which side of the road it was on. Go on. I'm sorry. We're getting sidetracked.
no, that's okay. That's kind of what this show is like. If you haven't joined Robert Kruger for the After Hours,
okay,
yeah, it's all good. Usually we've got a couple drinks in us belly now, and things are loosening up pretty good. So he might kill me for saying this. I don't know.
Water.
Hey, I'm a host right now, so we're just gonna go with it.
Nice.
So, yeah, I think we're all on the same page as far as this goes. It's just such bullshit that they can be so blatant about tracking people like this and gathering information on stuff that's not even. I mean, all of these laws, quote unquote. I like what Joseph Fetz has to say about this. Like the statutes, he refuses to call them laws because these are just arbitrary, ridiculous, made-up shit. I mean, it has nothing to do with anything. Like, there's no ethics involved here, and a ton of laws that are on the books, these statutes, have nothing to do with real ethics or peacekeeping or violence or anything like that. All sorts of nonviolent crimes. And so this just arbitrary tracking of this activity, to me, is just no different than a lot of the other statutes that they have out there that actually are laws that people are breaking. And so, I don't know, to me it's just an extension of everything that's so ridiculous about the state already. So, do you guys want to harp on that anymore, or shall we move on?
I got nothing more to say about it. I think we covered it pretty well.
Case closed.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up, and this is probably a really brief topic too, but I kind of just wanted to get it off my chest because I'm just so aggravated with so 2 weeks ago I see this article. I remember actually seeing mainstream media if it wasn't for Facebook because other people post this shit. But I see this article on the bubonic plague. One person in China is diagnosed with it, and they put this whole community on lockdown. It's a small township, something like 20,000 people or something like that, and they put him on lockdown for this one dude that contracted it. Well, the article doesn't say anything about the fact that we have a cure for the plague now. I mean, there's no vaccine, but who gives a shit? You can cure it with antibiotics. I mean, it's really not much more serious than the flu at this point. And so it was a lot of hype, and I just kind of went by it and was just like, well, I will, it's just ridiculous. Swear to God, 2 days later, there's another article that's of a guy in Connecticut or something like that who got it from a ground squirrel, and all of a sudden he's got the plague, and the dog died. His dog got the plague, who gave it to him, and the dog got it from a ground squirrel who was dead and had fleas or something. It's like, how do they actually track all this? I don't know, but somehow they figured out that's how he got it. Well, the dog died. The man lived because obviously this is treatable. They say he's not contagious anymore, but it's been in the news for the last week or something. And now all of a sudden, it seems like all week long I've been hearing all this Ebola. And this particular article, I have no idea if it's true or not, because honestly, I'm just kind of done with the fact-checking on this part of the story because I don't care. But this article basically claims that Obama is signing in an executive order that's an add-on to one that Bush actually put out, which is an indefinite detainment of citizens who maybe have contracted Ebola or have, and in this case, any respiratory illness that could be considered highly contagious other than the flu, which is pretty troubling. I mean, it is troubling verbiage and everything, but I've sort of given up on the whole political goings on. Like, you can watch it happen, but there's not going to be much you can do about it. So that's why I didn't really care how true this was or anything. But have you guys been noticing this like ramp up in the media, like this sort of storyline that's kind of just been trickling in the last couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden it just seems to be everywhere?
The Ebola thing?
So I kind of know a little bit about this. The executive order that he signed was actually a modification of one that George Bush had made back in 03, and he changed it. So I don't remember exactly what Bush's was. Okay, yeah, let me double check.
CDC thing?
Bush's specifically was to detain people who had SARS specifically, where Obama kind of broadened it. So yeah, holy shit.
You know what I think, Chuck? I think that, and I'm going to be a conspiracy theorist right now, whatever the hell that means. Conspiracy just means two or more people doing something together, but whatever. But I'm going to go ahead and say some crazy shit in the world's eyes, but I think it's true. I think there's some 1984 stuff going on right now.
Oh, yeah.
With Eurasia and East Asia and all that. They're just, oh, let's ruffle feathers in China, and let's ruffle feathers in Malaysia and Russia, and it's just to make everyone feel like, oh, at any second something could happen, and we should all be patriotic and band together because we all might be in a war any second now. Like, if they just fucking left us alone, we would all be chilling and be peaceful. I think there'd be a couple assholes, but we'd be pretty good. That's my belief.
I would go on that and say, not only are you right, I would also say that, I think that there is going to be something with this. I don't know what it is, but I do think there's going to be something done with this Ebola thing, and I think that's going to be used to probably, once again, take even more rights away from us because, come on, this is sounding like it's going to be like the next Massachusetts, or not Massachusetts, Boston bombing, you know, where now we're going to have to get used to them. We're going to have to start giving blood tests on the street to see if we're infected now, you know? Who knows?
It's such everything is such a.
How are they going to be able to test people for this? Is this at borders and stuff like that? Like,
they'll find a way. That's just that's going to be my answer. Is just they'll find a way.
Look at the flu shot. It's the same thing. Like, how much of a problem is the fucking flu in the first place? Not that much. Second of all, why are they vaccinating us for the flu? Why aren't we getting like all these other vaccinations for free? Why is it just this one? Because it's something they can do every year to get us all to herd our way out to Walgreens and go, oh, got my shot, and then everyone gets sick and everyone gets really tired and sleepy right around Super Bowl time, right before Christmas time, when then you got to recoup and go get fat and go buy everything and load up your credit cards. They get you to have a lazy-ass winter, and then they get you all hyped up for summer so you can spend all your fucking money in the summertime, and then right back to being a lazy fuck. Look, they're conditioning us like sheep. It's sick. It's fucked up. That's what I think.
Like, that's some extreme macroeconomics right there. But I guarantee you there's somebody out there that's done that scenario and figured out how to increase that.
I just know they pay for the intellectual class, and then they use the intellectual class to prop themselves up for another 10 years until technology and society says, we don't want these aggressors taking control of us anymore. And I don't know, man. Sorry, I'm getting into a rant.
No, it's a good rant.
No, I think that's true, man. I agree that the intellectual class for their own people that can really understand economics, the people that can really understand law, they're not going to be going in there for their saving people. Where the money is where the corruption is, because through the power of the government, you can do anything, really.
Yeah, and when the intellectual class partners up with the state, like basically through higher education. So like I was a philosophy major in school and I didn't get my degree, but I was there for 5 years anyway, so I get my own School of Hard Knocks degree. But the whole reason I didn't really give a shit at the end of it was because I looked at it and I said, this isn't going to ever make me any more money than if I didn't have it, unless I become a teacher or a professor. So they kind of corner you into these niches that are not profitable in the free market and say, well, we have a job for you here at the school. Just keep saying what everything we say and be a Democrat and we're good. And it's like, it's so transparent, I feel, but everyone's just like, I'm going to college, I'm going to be a liberal and change things. Like, I did that for my freshman year, and now I feel like a really silly person, but, you know, I woke up, that's
But Randall, are you a really silly person?
I am a really silly person, so it makes sense. You asked me a question, you got the answer.
I wasn't expecting one so fast.
I know, bro.
Hey, it's good. Know thyself. Know thyself. That's good. I think you were
Yeah, I
spot
didn't even
on.
get to hear the question before it came through on my end.
That's funny. Google
That's just
Hangouts, man.
that's the Canadian lag, though. We're all used to the Canadian lag going on.
Hey, at least he's not Australian on that Australian lag. Oh, that's a whole other topic.
So yeah, I think there's one other aspect to this whole illness, this whole fear-mongering thing going on. And Chuck, you actually made a good point in the analogy of the Boston bombing, because my big rant with the Boston bombing going on wasn't to try to figure out the conspiracy behind it, but it was to look at what was happening in conjunction with it. So it's like a big distraction tool. People get freaked out about the news of the day, and then they totally forget about all this shit that's happening behind the closed doors. So
Right.
a lot of internet censoring legislation and all this kind of shit was trying to get shoved through Congress literally 3 days after the Boston bombing, and they just used it as a big distraction tool, like, oh, Boston bombing, terrorists are at your doorstep, and then, oh, let's push through this legislation real fast while everyone's distracted by it.
Yeah. I remember back when I was a statist, when I had like nostalgia for like politicians, and I'd like watch them
Yeah,
speak
there's
and
the
be like,
Ebola
"Oh,
thing
here
too.
comes the-"
Like, right as all this. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
No,
for
it's
the
all right.
lag. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, it's cool. Go ahead, man. You barely got to speak, dude. You've been chopping out the whole time. Jump in, brother.
Yeah, the Ebola thing. I totally think that the. I think the Ebola thing definitely makes the. Man, this leg is way too bad. I can't even.
You hearing
Just
yourself
go ahead,
too?
man. I'm just gonna listen, and then I'm gonna back out and figure it all out.
You could also type in your thoughts, and we'll tell everyone what you're saying.
That'd
That
be
sucks,
beautiful.
dude.
That does suck.
What was I gonna say? I had some shit I was gonna go off on, but I forgot. It's all good. Ebola. Where were we at? Man, it was all the fresh air today in Mother Nature. I can't remember where I was at.
Oh, was it just fresh air?
Well, mostly fresh. There was some unfresh.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Hey man, it was fresh for me. I enjoyed it. I smoked some cigarettes too. That was very unfresh. And hey, it is what it is, man. Not perfect.
Cigarettes.
I'm not a perfect person. I never said I was.
I'm not a Are you crocheting during
Oh
the
shit,
show?
you saw me? Yeah, I'm knitting actually. Because you know what? It's like eating like sunflower seeds. You can do it and still pay attention. And like honestly, if I wasn't doing something else, I'd probably be.
Oh, yeah, it's a 2-hour show.
Yes.
Don't fall asleep on his gut.
2 hours exactly. I need to.
But yeah,
Hunker in.
I'll throw in one more thing if I can about this.
Yeah, please do.
But so you were talking about how when that happened, to look at what was happening in conjunction. And that's something I always kind of, from the conspiracy side of me, like I would always just kind of look at that and say, well, okay, this just happened and they're hyping it up. What's going on at the same time that they're not hyping up? And you always, I swear I will stand by this, but whenever something happens that gets hyped up by mainstream media, you will always see something else that they're explicitly not talking about. Like, during the missing airplane, a really good one. I mean, look at all the stuff that was happening on the war. Oh fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say, but like, when that started happening, which now I'm gonna sound really dumb and uncredible, but when that started happening,
I got your back because I already know where you were going with that, and I was that before too, so it's all good.
Yeah, like when that was happening, everyone was talking about it. There was so much other shit going on at the same time that no one wanted to talk about. So
it's almost like mind-numbing to actually try to like fact check yourself on what the state's doing, because like that's kind of what they want. Like they're like the popular kids at school in a sense, like unearned fame and value, and like just like, oh, I was born this way, or my dad's rich, or whatever. And it's like, I'm not saying everyone who's popular in high school is a jerk or anything. No, not at all. I'm just saying that like it's like kind of like they are going to use whatever works, just like everyone else does. It's a defense mechanism. So like they see freedom happening, they see Bitcoin, they see Voluntary Virtues Network, they see Stefan Molyneux getting millions and millions of views a week. Like, do you think the state doesn't know? Like I talk about the state as if it's like one guy, like God sitting like in the White House, but there is a collective groupthink, I think, to the statists more so than anyone. And if I'm going to collectivize anybody, I'm going to collectivize statists and say that they all pretty much, when it comes to like, if I have a T-shirt that has Abraham Lincoln on it, he could be humping a stripper, he could be chugging a beer, he could be high-fiving someone, he could just say Abraham Lincoln on my shirt. I would walk down the street in any statist town like Boston or DC and be like, cool shirt, man. Oh, dude, Lincoln's the man. No one knows what he did. No one knows what he was really
like,
about. Like,
well, because, okay, I got you back on this one. Because, so, they're like, well, Abraham Lincoln, he freed the slaves, right? Well, no, he just kind of used the slaves as an excuse to stop the South from succeeding and losing their tax dollars. So,
oh yeah,
best president or
That's
worst
certain.
president, you decide. It's like, but yeah, so.
Yeah, I don't think people really put together, things we are not taught about Abe Lincoln in school. For instance, when he was a lawyer defending slave owners in court, he was not a good lawyer. He lost a lot of the time. But, just a few years before the Emancipation Proclamation, he actually was in court defending a slave owner in Chicago who, at the time, they had this sort of... It's an interesting thing because countries actually still do this, where you can only be in an area for so long to retain your certain citizenship. Well, in this case, it was slaves. If they were in Illinois for longer, or worked in Illinois for longer than 12 months, they were granted their freedom on paper. Well, some rich slave owner left his wife with a house servant, and kind of forgot how long he'd been there and made a mistake. And this slave basically was trying to gain his freedom by saying, hey, I've been here more than a year. The law states I'm a free man. And Abe Lincoln was on the side of the slave owner and trying to fight for this guy to remain in chains and bondage. And just get sent back to the South and then be brought back up to work another year. This is the man that everybody worships as this great emancipator. It's just such a line of bullshit. Besides the fact that the Emancipation Proclamation really didn't free the slaves anyway. I mean, if you actually read it, it's pathetic. It doesn't really grant freedom or any sort of rights to blacks in America at the time.
I should go back and read that. I haven't read that since probably like high school, honestly.
I don't
Yeah.
think anyone has.
I mean, I think the whole goal behind it was to have people fight in the war. I mean, that's what it was, a recruiting tool more than anything. So, anyway, I digress.
No, that's fuck, man. It's at the root of it. It's at the root of the whole thing with the Ebola thing because it's all about the state trying to condition people. And I was just gonna say real quick, and then I want to hear what Chuck was gonna say because mine's it's a little tangential, but I think that with regards to slavery and with regards to like this idea of Lincoln and everything like that, like it's about the state can't save face because they can't lose face. They don't have a loss mechanism. Everything in the state is win-win because I still have the guns and I'm still the biggest guy in the room, so I'm still the bully and I still have all the shit. That's just a perpetual situation when you're the state. It's not like, yeah, there might be someone getting a little strong that you push back down, like, preppers or just regular people. But my point is that in a normal situation, it pays you to save face. So if you're a business owner, we didn't lose Chuck, did we? Hope not. If you're a business owner and you make a mistake and you say something that's wrong to your customers or you do a bad job, you can still say, you know what, I was wrong, and now I'm going to change and do it the right way. And you can continue on. Or you can choose to continue to do it wrong and fail. The state can continue to do it wrong and still succeed. So I think that's like the thing is like they can lie to people. They can tell people there's an Ebola outbreak when there's not. They can tell you to snitch on your neighbors for whatever reason they want. And because people are statists, they'll fucking do it. Like,
Yeah.
maybe I'm beating a drum, but like that's just how I feel. Like it's like I want to make people stop being a fucking statist. Like that's the main thing for me.
Like today on Facebook, I saw another article from a minor celebrity who for a show I used to watch, but irrelevant was okay. So now the news was saying that now in New York they're testing a person in New York to see if they have possibly the Ebola virus, and now we're gonna just keep hearing about this more and more and more. So and then while they're using this media attention, because there's only so much media can blast at once, So while they're blasting this Ebola propaganda, propaganda might be not the right word, but
I think it
while
is.
they're blasting these Ebola, oh, watch out for Ebola, they're probably going to be doing something else that they don't want people to know about.
Yeah,
So,
the old birdie. Look at the birdie. The birdie
and you
was
know
there.
what? We should probably report on it next week. What do you think, Cody?
I think that sounds like a plan. We should totally monitor and see
We
what's
should-
going on.
That'd be actually a really good segment. What they're doing, like Ebola. What's actually going on? Like, start just doing the segment every week
That's
for
funny.
one topic.
Yeah, when we're talking about the Boston bombings too. I actually did a small segment on my network during that period, and I remember, I mean, it's on the video. I'm actually talking about them trying to shove through CISPA or one of those. I forget because there's so many of them. CISPA, I forget which one. And they were trying to shove it through about 3 or 4 days after the Boston bombing. And I went to readdress that in a show just about a month ago, and I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked, and I looked through all these transcripts of Congress and everything for about 60 days from the Boston bombings for about 60 days onward, and it's nowhere to be found. It's not there. I looked everywhere I could think of, and it's gone, like it never happened.
Mm-hmm.
And why the hell would I say that 2 years ago or whatever in that video if I hadn't seen it somewhere? Obviously it was there, but not now. So it'd be interesting to kind of keep an eye on them during this big outbreak scare and see what the hell's going on. Now you guys got me sounding like a conspiracy theorist.
No, I wanted to keep going on that. Like I had something and then I lost it again. Like I really think like the thing is, if we don't agree with the state, and we call ourselves moral people, then it follows by logic that people who do agree with the state are immoral people. And the most immoral of them are those who take the helm of the state, who rule the state, the presidents, the senators, the congressmen, the cops. I think cops are actually more powerful than congressmen and senators, really, because
Oh yeah, they're the ones
senators
beating up
don't-
people.
Yeah, senators don't jump me on the street, so I'm not. That's
Not
just
yet.
them.
You'll
Not yet.
just you wait, Randall.
But the point I'm trying to get at is like, I don't even know actually. I fucking lost it again because here's the thing, they have us conditioned so deeply rooted. When we were 5 years old, we were standing with our hands on our hearts in homeroom or kindergarten, whatever.
I
going,
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Don't even say it. It makes me sick. But dude, did they make you sing songs? They made us sing like my country, tis
My
the day, and, like,
country, tis a... Sometimes,
this
yeah.
land is our- whatever. There's
Oh
like a
yeah,
million songs,
all
but-
sorts of John Philip Sousa songs, yeah, in the marching band and in the pep band, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you like point that out to somebody, whether it's like a parent, because I don't have kids, but like if it's someone like a peer of mine in their early 30s who have children, I say, isn't it messed up about public school or whatever? And like they're like, what do you mean? I'm sending my kid to public school. There's nothing wrong with that. It's it's like you don't remember what that was like. Like you don't remember hating that and being like, I hate school. Like I don't want to be here. You're just like, oh, I'm gonna force my kid to go to that. Like,
I mean, look at this. If you look back at the old pictures of look at the back in black and white photo days. Like, how many kids do we see doing, the American flag? Like, you see those pictures all the time, and now it's like you mention that to anyone, and they're like, I never heard of that. It's like.
In all fairness, it wasn't a Nazi thing. It was.
I know, but
yeah,
still.
Okay.
I
Well,
mean,
for the audience,
we were saluting American flag, and in a way that, we were still saluting an American flag in this very particular fashion.
Sorry, man. I'm sorry. I keep cutting you off. My bad, dude.
No, I was gonna just say that they've been doing it for so long, and it's just like I think a lot of people miss the point of, if you bring it up to them now, they just miss the point because they're statists, and so it's like they don't want to see what the state is doing wrong. They'll complain about what the party they don't believe is doing wrong, but if you try to bring it up something about either their party or the government as a whole, well then they'll either say, who will build the roads, who will fund the schools, who will, But I'll let you go, Randall, because you're way better.
No, I keep forgetting what I'm gonna say, and then I have it and I don't, and I have it and I don't. But anyway, so two things. One, horizontal enforcement. Freedom Fiends taught me that one. That basically means that we keep each other in check as opposed to top-down enforcement. It's horizontally across. So that's much more efficient for them than having to top down everything. That there's not enough of them, there's too much of us. So that's for one. The second thing is with all the brainwashing and the look here, why this is happening over here. The whole reason for that is, fuck, I had it. Damn it, I'm gonna get it right now. Horizontal enforcement. Look here, because it's not that it's a reason. The reason is just to perpetuate the state. That's not what I was going for. The crazy thing about it that I want to discuss, or at least point out, that blows my mind, is the fact that the indoctrination is so powerful and so deep that, like, it actually works. And, like, we see things that we can all as adults say they're brainwashing children, or they're forcing people to take injections of medicine that they don't know what's in it, or whatever immoral stuff, or they're putting people in cages for smoking a plant or for injecting something into their arm for ground. I don't care what you do with your body, it's yours. But, we all kind of go, that's not right, let's do a podcast. But, like, we're all dragging our feet around, like, letting this shit happen every day. I'm not saying let's take guns and, that's not going to solve anything, but I'm saying, like, if everyone just said, fuck that, like, there's too many status is the point. We're like 4% of the people, maybe, if that, maybe 8. I don't know. It's hard to say because they try to minimize our numbers too. So I don't know. I'm going crazy on the deep end with conspiracy stuff tonight, but
It's not really conspiracy stuff if it's true, though.
I think it should.
No, yeah, it definitely. It's a little discouraging actually when you start to think of what percentage of people actually might be thinking anarchists. I mean, I think sometimes we're a little tainted in optimism because half our Facebook feed is a bunch of anarchists, and here on the Voluntary Virtues Network we've got 70 or 80 hosts. But how many of your neighbors are anarchists? How many people do you meet around town? I don't know where you guys live, but I live in Portland, Oregon, and shit, I think I've met 3 anarchists ever here, and there's a few million people here. It's discouraging to say the least. I'm really right on with you, Rhoda, is that we don't need to try to change the government. We need to get more people to think and resist kowtowing to the government, because the government doesn't exist. I mean, it's just this. It doesn't exist, right? I mean, it's just a big collective of individuals who are putting on a show.
Cody, you just reminded me of something that actually just happened to me yesterday. If I can tell a good story.
Totally.
So I was in let me lean back. I was in a college course, for I have a class on Mondays for about stress management, and sometimes we talk about like controversial issues and stuff like that. Just the whole point is the debate's just to show how stressful the things are. But we were talking about minorities and how we could fix the minority problems. But one of the things that was interesting was we started talking about education, and I mentioned that one of the girls was like, well, you pay a property tax and that goes to your school, which is not sure how it works in Michigan. She was wrong. But you pay a property tax, and that's why some schools are better than others, because some places have higher property tax. And then I broke in with, so why don't we abolish property tax and pay the schools directly if you want to send your kids there? And that way, 100% of your money goes to the school, yada, yada, yada. I made that pitch for privatizing schools. And it just got into this, okay, so many people started agreeing with me, right? But then they were talking about ways that the government could enforce this. And I was just like, and then one of the girls was like, in my class, I won't name names, but she said, people don't realize how much power they have. We could vote out all of Congress and put in a new Congress. And I was just thinking, like, right,
That's
like
so ridiculous.
Well, like, yeah, like that would change anything, right? Or like, even if it did, those are just the puppets, not the puppet masters. So they think that like Congress and all of them are the puppet masters as opposed to the puppets, So
you don't get on the ballot unless you're already on the dole. Unless you're already. You have to make a blood oath. Like, I'm not saying like in a a bullhorn mask in a cave. I'm saying like you have to sacrifice your own true identity and say, I'm never going to be a real person. I'm just going to be a figurehead for something completely immoral, and then I'm going to tell everyone it's the moral way. Like, that is literally the devil incarnate. Like, I went from completely like half-ass statist with like my moments of like stupid pride and joy over the state, and then like complete rebelliousness at the same time, to like totally seeing like, and I sound like someone that just jumped over the fence yesterday, but I've been here for a year plus now, full on anarchist, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist. I'm not even afraid of the word anarchy because I know what it means. And I want people to know that the word anarchy doesn't mean throwing Molotov cocktails in the street. That's what the state has told you. It's just like 1984. Everybody who hasn't read that book, we all, like you said, Cody, we all take for granted certain things about everyone because we are surrounding ourselves with like-minded, free-thinking people. But the fact is, if you asked 100 people at the bus stop if they read 1984, you probably get less than 20% that say yes.
Well, they make you read it. It's kind of ironic. They made me read it in high school.
That's awesome.
And then, but then when the teacher said, okay, so how do we stop this? Well, we need the government to keep checks on itself to make sure they don't go overboard like like they did in the book. And I was a statist back then. I won't lie because I was buying into the the system at the time.
You were brainwashed.
So I was like, yeah, we totally need that. And I was like a dead-on Republican at the time, and I was just like, yeah, the Republicans will fix it, and then, I'm right there with you on hating my old status self, Randall. I feel so dumb.
I mean, it's instructive because, not hate, I mean, because you don't hate yourself,
right.
But you hate that part that you were saying those things, because it's like you were the enemy for a while, in a sense, but like it's not enemies. We have to treat these people with compassion, and that brings me to another point. I'm not going to name any names, but 2 people I know were involved in a Facebook discussion today, I'm just going to say. And there was someone who was new to Liberty and someone who was not new to Liberty. And the person who was not new to Liberty was really, in my opinion, pretty rude and pretty unwelcoming to the new person, even though the new person might have not been wording things perfectly. I just want to take a second and say, like, we need to make our groups bigger, not in a collectivist way, but in a diversity way. So
we need to be more welcoming, and
yes.
But I don't want to say nurture the proper ideas because then we're just as bad as they are. I don't want to say that we need to lead them on the right path because if we start leading them on the right path, then we're just as bad as the statists. I don't care how good our morals are, but once we start trying to take initiative to explicitly control how other people think, then we are the state.
I 100% agree. And hey, Garrett.
Hi, Garrett. He's back for more punishment, everyone.
I'm pretty sure the connection is a lot better right now. Is it not?
Sounds
yeah.
good so far.
Sweet.
Like I said, at least you're not Australian.
Hey, Mike, what's wrong with Australians, Mike?
Nothing. It's just they're like still using these like billion-year-old cables that can only get like 0.5 kilobits up and down or whatever they get in Australia now. It's so bad.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
they should have a free market for that. They should just have people stringing that thing out all the time.
The funny part, they tried to put a free market for that, and then the executives there did the same thing they did in the States, and they paid the government to say no. So they tried to put in fiber lines in Australia, and the Prime Minister of Australia is like, no, we don't need those. What we have is fine, and because I got paid by the executives. So
that'll tie into something later, man. I don't want to real quick because we talk about Bitcoin and we get into that later.
Yeah, actually, we could just jump into that real soon because you guys actually were already talking about another point, which is being accepting and welcoming to people who are in the process of learning and thinking, and people are up in the coming up in the liberty movement, if you want to call it that. It's hard to put it into words what we're trying to achieve, but we shouldn't be shutting them down because they're asking legitimate questions, even if it's the same 50 questions we've heard over and over and over again, and sometimes they seem like they're trolling when actually they just legitimately want to know, like, who will build the fucking roads, right? I mean, we should be able to answer that question without getting our panties in a wad. And that actually relates a little bit to what I wanted to talk to you about with Bitcoin, too, in that I have a lot of feedback from even guys who are usually on this panel with us who say that they support Bitcoin or they're ambivalent about Bitcoin or they'd like to support Bitcoin, but they don't have any because it's a pain in the ass. Like, they can't figure it out, they can't get it, and that kind of thing. So that's one reason I wanted to bring that up is, how to make Bitcoin more ubiquitous and easily obtainable and understandable for the average layperson who really does not want to know all the technical details.
And which is why I brought you up, Randall, because, around here, you're the real expert.
Bitcoin. And not just do I love it, I actually, I know people that get it better than me. I don't know it inside and out because it's actually, the technology of Bitcoin is crazy, I don't want to say complicated, but it is, it's got a lot to it, so to speak. And I'm not going to get into that because, again, the point is the opposite of that, to show you how it doesn't have to be that. And we're on a Liberty network, so I want to just kind of jump in real quick and just say a couple things. Bitcoin is not the money Bitcoin, not the actual, I have a Bitcoin and it's worth $600. Not that Bitcoin. What Bitcoin stands for, just like the TV, we're not talking about the TV, the box. We're talking about, now we have screens everywhere. That's what started that. So Bitcoin is for people to understand without any nerdy talk for now, Bitcoin is a way to keep people really freaking honest. So if we want to have decentralized corporations, if we want to have dispute resolution organizations like Malinu talks about, where you could have an insurance company that could actually come to your house and put you in cuffs because you agreed to that in a contract to get the benefit from them. It's like a voluntary government, and I'm not saying I advocate for this. I'm saying that might be something for us to look at as an asset because it gives us a way to take statists away from the state easier and say, look, we know you like to have a centralized body to do your contracts and to do your safety enforcement. But what if we had a multitude of safety providers and security providers, and they had to compete, and the ones that were the most friendly and the least aggressive were the ones that most people signed up for, and the market drove down the aggression and up the friendliness of every service. So Bitcoin would be a way to say, all right, I called the cops at 2:52 p.m., the free market cops, and it's now been an hour later, all my shit is gone. My computer's been robbed, my Bitcoin addresses, my Bitcoin are missing, I have a video feed, whatever, and you can document all that in a blockchain, the actual data. You can embed that into the Bitcoin network or a network like that. This technology allows us to have end-to-end accountability. So if the government says, I'm going to give you, I don't say government, your insurance company says, I'm going to give you X, Y, and Z claim if A, B, and C happens, you have an independent third party that is trustworthy because their track record is visible. It's public. So they're arbitrating on things, and we can see every single case, who won, what the details were. Bitcoin, the community of Bitcoin, it blows my mind because I'm sitting here in the middle. The libertarians don't get it, and they're looking at it and saying it's too nerdy. And the nerds get it, but they don't get how it's an anarchist or libertarian thing, and they're going, I don't want to talk about politics. Let's just talk about the algorithm more or whatever. And I'm like, why can't these people get together? Like, if we can get the nerds to be anarchists and the anarchists to stop hugging onto their gold and their guns for 2 seconds and just think about fucking something else for a second, Bitcoin is going to be the thing. Sorry, Chuck, go ahead, buddy.
No, I was just pointing at myself because you said, because you mentioned you just basically brought up what my show was about. So,
right.
That's kind of why I was pointing at myself. Like,
no,
great that's kind of my goal here.
Yep.
So,
bridging the geeky gap.
Well, it is. The internet is the first. It's so funny. The state pretty much shot itself in the foot. Like, they made it as a way to. I'm not giving them credit for the internet writ large. I'm saying maybe they started it in a sense. Someone from on the government payroll.
Well, they started the original project.
Right, and now it's too big. They can't fucking even stop it. That's the thing. Oh, and you want to hear another thing? Let's talk about Bitcoin and how it's way better than any other kind of money. Bitcoin can't be inflated or deflated or stopped. There is not one guy with the master password or the off button to Bitcoin. We can go, this isn't going the way I want it to. I'm going to change it. That's not a thing with Bitcoin. It's decentralized. The code and the algorithm, I'll say what decentralized means in a second if people don't understand that, but the code and the processing and all the nerdy stuff behind Bitcoin is the files that I install on my computer and you install on your computer to have Bitcoin, if you were to do it that way, which is a harder way of doing it. We'll talk about the practical uses. I'm just trying to sell people on why they should spend 10 minutes to figure it out. Because the problem isn't that it's hard. The problem is that people don't believe it's worth their effort. And I'm going to be honest. The people that say it's hard are being lazy because there's so many websites that have really dumbed down, and there's YouTube videos 10-minute long videos that have cartoon characters jumping down the street, like Bitcoin super easy, 1, 2, 3. Like if you said easiest way to get into Bitcoin in Google and you clicked on the first 5 links and read them all for 10 minutes each, you would know a lot of stuff. You'd be ready to go. You'd have everything going. So I'm more than willing. I don't want to sound like oh, you guys are being lazy. Like, come to me. You guys, I'm a public guy. I mean, not popular or anything like huge, but I'm on the network. You guys know, everyone's watching this. If you guys have a question, if you want to get Bitcoin, you don't know how to, I'll walk you through it. But I'm saying I want to sell people on why it's important, because it's something you should get your own enthusiasm about and not feel like, oh, I better try that out. Like, I'm trying to talk about what makes it so crazy. Like, we can have a decentralized company that no one actually owns. There's no guy that founded the company. There's just a message board chat that's going on saying, it'd be really cool if someone did this. It's like, I'll work up a little prototype of some code, whatever. And then it's like, let me do some graphic design. Let me try a logo. Before you know it, someone's like, let's launch a coin. We'll call it a, XYZ project coin or whatever. And we'll launch it. And then whoever thinks the project's a good idea can, buy some coins from us in exchange for Bitcoin, and we'll use the Bitcoin to fund the project. And then the ownership of the company is just whoever has those coins. So it didn't start out like you have 8% and I have 10%. It just starts out, who wants these things? They're worthless. And the people that believe in the project say, oh, I believe that's going to be something someday. Bitcoin is the method for that. Like,
And
I don't think people get that.
something you brought up too is there's been so many other coins. You got Bitcoin, you got Dogecoin, you got Kanye coin, you got Litecoin, you got Potcoin. Kanye coin's the best one. But
I almost erased my wallet the other day. I was like, this is never going to be worth anything. I had like 600 Konyes or whatever. I'm like, this is so stupid. I should erase this. Like, this is going nowhere.
But there's so many, like Litecoin is starting to take off now too. Not as much as Bitcoin has, but
no, Litecoin's actually, just to be, not to correct you in your steps there, but just to be accurate for the viewers, Litecoin is on a pretty serious drop.
Is it? Okay,
yeah.
I'm a little, admittedly, I'm a little behind my coins.
2 or 3 weeks ago or something, no, 2 or 3 months ago, you might have been right there. But,
damn, off by 2 or 3 months.
The coins that are moving right now are Vericoin, Counterparty, Mastercoin, Ethereum, Pinkcoin, Potcoin. Dogecoin is on the down spiral. Litecoin's on the down. Namecoin, Purecoin. All the first generation coins are falling down because the second generation of cryptocurrencies that are coming out have a lot more powerful things. Like, there's like 4 or 5 coins that are out right now that have decentralized exchanges built into their wallet, to where I can actually, just with your wallet address, I can go, okay, Chuck, I'm going to sell you my car. Here's a deed contract written into this 1 cent transaction I'm going to send to you, and you're going to send a transaction back to me. And you can obviously use escrow or use a third party, but Bitcoin has a way of us actually having an immutable, permanent contract that the whole world can go back and go, okay, on this date, let's see this transaction tag. Okay, yep, this is true. That's my car. Everything can be forged.
So, Randall, you've mentioned this a couple times, and I've heard this before too, where information can be written into the blockchain, and it stands as a third-party, what am I trying to say?
Scrutiny.
Yeah, it's a log. There's a better word for it, but it's a journal. It's a record, whatever. And it can be used for contracts like you were just mentioning, or record keeping on an event like the crime that you mentioned. But could you walk us through step by step? First of all, is that available now? And second, if it is, could you give us like a Bitcoin for Dummies version of, okay, let's say I want to sell my car. I actually have a car for sale right now.
Cool.
And it's going to go for between 9 to 10.5 US dollars. So whatever that is in Bitcoin today. How would I actually do that? Like, is there software you can recommend? Is there something that kind of does it for you, like an interface, or do you have to be a coder and be able to program that shit in there?
Right. Okay. So a lot of good stuff there. I'm going to try to answer your question and fill in some of the surrounding stuff that goes with that. But basically, what you asked me shows where the common, like, I'm not saying that's, but you're not professing yourself as someone that spends all day worrying about Bitcoin, but at the same time, you're not avoiding it or saying I hate it either. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have a working knowledge of it, but there's so much it's just like the other stuff we were talking about before. There's so much intentional counter information coming from the parties that are afraid of Bitcoin, so to speak, like the banks and the state and everything like that. But to answer your question, Bitcoin's not going to, obviously, I don't think you're suggesting this, but it's not going to help you sell your car. But if you did have someone that wanted to buy your car for Bitcoin and you were worried about how to do that, there's a lot of solutions. So first of all, I'll just say in general, as a large rule right now, take what I said in the first place, for those of you who are watching and listening, like, figure out what Bitcoin's about from a philosophical or big picture standpoint, and then understand how it is a tool for liberty and all that, because it'll give you a reason to spend at least 10 or 20 hours a month reading on it or going on some forums or whatever, or asking someone like me, just messaging me back and forth. I'll chat with you, I'll text you, I don't care, I'm not that busy, I'm not famous or anything, you know what I mean? I have a business and whatever, but any which way. So you can use an escrow service. There's a number of Bitcoin, you could just Google search Bitcoin escrow, and there's a ton of them. I'm not going to support one over another, but it's really great. Just like the actual Bitcoin code itself, it's put up on a site called GitHub, which is a place where all programming things can be seen by other programmers. So from day one, the Bitcoin programming itself has been an open source project, meaning different developers have come and gone and come and gone. There is no one guy that's been behind it the whole time. In fact, it's been a lot of people that have come and gone, and yeah, the developers that are currently hanging on to it say, I'm kind of done with this, and they say, you should take over it, you're awesome, you love Bitcoin. So it's like, that guy wouldn't take all of his 4 years of work and say, let me just give it to anybody, I don't give a fuck. Bitcoin is just like anything else in the world. It's fragile, it could break. Obviously, there's a chance because nothing's bulletproof, but we should still support the best tools we have for liberty. So there's escrow. I keep getting into evangelism, my man. There's escrow. There's something called N of M, which is a little bit of a nerdier thing, but basically break it down as just a three-party transaction. So imagine there's like a vault or a dungeon somewhere, and we have like 3 keys that we have to all put in and turn at the same time. It's like that, but you could set up Bitcoin in wallets. Certain wallets do this, certain ones don't, and it's not that hard. You just say, all right, I want to do a 3-party transaction. You go me, Cody, and Chuck, and then two out of 3 of us have to agree to send the transaction for it to work. So me and you could gang up on Chuck, but, well, it's not. I'm actually explaining it wrong. So the way it would work is that, I guess that would be the case, but I don't know. I'm actually making it sound really bad right now, but the whole idea is that you can do any number of any number. So like if you had a board, let's say in a company, and you wanted to make the votes 5/7 majority or 3/5 majority or whatever, or 9/12, you can do whatever you want, N of M, in the wallet and say, all right, well, if it gets to it's like democracy, but it's not forgeable. And I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm not saying we need democracy. In fact, I'm going to be the one to try to skid the car away from that, because I think a lot of the nerds and some of the anarchists are thinking, well, maybe this is the way to save democracy. Like, let me go back to the state. No, this is the way to create freedom. Like, so anyway, we're not using it right now to sell our car. We're using it to subvert the state. So meaning, go on Reddit, go online, find people that are using Bitcoin. If you're a voiceover actor or actress, if you're a website designer like myself, if you're a martial arts instructor, whatever you do, if you're a fisherman, offer your services in Bitcoin and look for people that are willing to pay you in Bitcoin, because I'll tell you something, the state cannot keep track of Bitcoin. There's too much shit going on with the encryption that takes place. Everything looks like a string of garbage. It looks like NB, M2, M9. Like, you can't look at a Bitcoin transaction and go, that was Chuck sending money to Cody, unless you've been studying that address and seeing everywhere it goes and saying, all right, I'm going to piece this all together like a mastermind. If I want something to be public, I could put my name in the blockchain and say, Randall Parker Jr. sent 200 Bitcoin to Cody Limbaugh on this date, for his house. And it's in the file of that transaction.
Can I interrupt you right there for just a second? Yeah. Can you describe how we would put information into the blockchain? Because I've bought and sold some Bitcoin myself on exchanges and stuff, and then I have a little wallet that's just online. And obviously, I was really interested in it a couple years ago, and then basically life happened. I got busy, and so I still kind of have some Bitcoin floating around there that belongs to me, but I don't really transact with it that much. I bought some cigars with it. But could you describe for me exactly how one would go about putting information into the blockchain? Is there a software interface or something like that, or like I said, do you have to know how to program and that kind of thing? I know this sounds like a childish question, but I think people really want to know.
These are really great questions.
Like, let me put an analogy real quick, and then I'll turn it back over to you. Like, I have a friend who got into blogging before blogging was a word, and he was nerdy enough to figure it out really early on, and he ended up actually making a living off of it, selling his blog, early retirement, that kind of thing. Real early adopter. But now, everybody and their freaking dog can have 10 blogs, because all you have to do is sign up on WordPress, and you don't have to know any programming whatsoever. You can design your whole site, and it can look just about as professional as anybody else's, even if you know nothing, versus a $10,000 site. Whereas with Bitcoin, I feel like if you don't have some technical knowledge, like it's just like you're kind of lost with it. So I would like to know how does one actually put information into the blockchain as a record-keeping device, having absolutely zero knowledge of programming or anything like that.
Right. So this is the same problem we're facing with Liberty, in that we want to be so elitist about Liberty that we can't be humble enough to let someone in and say, oh, I get what you're trying to say. Let me help you out and word that differently or whatever. We're like, oh, you got to read Rothbard. Like, that's not productive. Like, you're just scaring more people away. Like, what are you trying to do? Are you helping us or hurting us? Same thing for Bitcoin. So I would be doing it an injustice by saying, let me explain to you how to embed information into the blockchain. I can help you understand that, but the short answer of it is that there's a couple projects that are doing it now to where you could seriously just like under the transaction type in a message or upload a file to it. Like there's actual, so I'll be giving some stuff. So Counterparty is a Bitcoin 2.0 technology that's really popular. The coin is XCP on the markets if you want to look into it and see the charts and everything. Counterparty is one of the first, it's not the only, I listed them before, but there's a number of them where there's just more functionality built in. It takes the root kind of basic skeleton of Bitcoin and it gives it more skills. So it's still open source, everyone can see it. It's still decentralized. There's still no boss. Now, be careful. There are a few coins that were pre-mined to where there are some big holders of the coin that were the starters of the coin because they kind of didn't tell people they were starting it, and that's something the community is really against. And if they find out coins are pre-mined, they're pretty much all dropped to nothing, because even though the nerds don't get the anarchy part, they get the free market, they get the economy part. They're smart enough to figure that out. But any which way. Counterparty allows for decentralized exchanges, so if you want to sell your counterparty for Bitcoin, you can actually do that in some of the wallets right now. Same for Next, same for Mastercoin, I think. I'm a little rusty right now. I've been away from Bitcoin, I've been in nature and whatnot, but I know my stuff, and it's not about that. Like, I know my stuff because I just got obsessed with it, and I listened to every single Let's Talk Bitcoin episode, and I listen to every Andreas Antonopoulos thing I could find on YouTube. And he's a nerd. He's a big-time nerd, but he's like me. Like, he gets how it's going to end. And he's an anarchist, too. He's a voluntarist, whatever you want to call it. He gets how it's going to help end the state. So, I don't know. I didn't answer your question. I kind of did. But it's not just about that. Also, real quick on that point, I don't know where you're going to take it if we're going to end on Bitcoin, but Tatiana Coin, I don't know if you guys have heard of that. Do you guys know what that is? Anybody?
First time hearing about it.
Chuck, you know about it?
A little bit. I know it exists.
Tatiana Moroz is a singer-songwriter. She wrote the Bitcoin jingle, like, use Bitcoin wherever you pay, whatever, like that song. I don't know if you heard it or not, but it's on a lot of podcasts and stuff. And not that makes her like an authority or anything, but she is an authority in virtue of the fact that she's in the past, I'm not friends with her or anything. Like, I've talked to her a couple times here and there in chats, but from just following her on social media, I know that she's going to conferences and she's getting really into Bitcoin. So she came out with this project in coordination with Counterparty and in coordination with Let's Talk Bitcoin and Adam B. Levine, where she was launching her own coin that was for her fans. So it's called Tatiana Coin, and you could go to this website every single day and send Bitcoin to this address, and it would send Tatiana coins back to you if it was funded, like a Kickstarter. So it never got funded, but they modified the code to still make it, because people were upset or whatever. So I don't know exactly the whole logistics of it. So anyway, Tatiana coin didn't meet its funding goal, but it did get released. And she will be exchanging her like coaching sessions for like other artists. She'll be exchanging like one-on-one hangouts, like for people who have like a large bounty of coins. She'll be exchanging just CDs, merchandise. So Bitcoin provides to where we say the dollar is a bad thing, we got to end the Fed. Well, there could be Jay-Z coin, Chuck coin, Randall Parker coin. There could be IKEA coin, ShopRite coin, whatever. And where you shop is where you hold. And it's all exchangeable. It's like, oh man, I'm stuck in.
Well, that's kind of what they have right now, is it not, with their points reward system? But the more that people use that points, these bitcoins or whatever, the more interest is going to be in them, and the more valuable they could get it, right? So the more they promote it, they could do it the exact same way that they use their points now.
Right, and so that's the kind of thing. Thank you for saying that. Like the kind of thing I wanted to make sure I got out there was that like I don't want to dwell on like how to make this not technical for people, because the truth of the matter is this is an early adopter situation. But do you want to be at the early beginning of a curve on something huge, or do you want to be in the middle or at the end of the curve and figure it out last? Like the last guy to get a screen on his cell phone, like, oh, I'm still using this one. Like people say that like it's a good thing. Like, haha, look how vintage I am. Look how behind you are. Look how hard it's going to ever be for you to catch up.
Hipsters.
Whatever.
So you guys were talking about hating your old selves. You know, my first Bitcoins, I actually bought 3 of them at $17.50. $17. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I left them on the exchange server that I bought them from, and they went out of business. And
let me guess. Mount Gox.
No, it was pre-Mount Gox. Trying to remember.
Now I know there was a few that went down before Gox. Way back in the day.
It was the big one at the time before Mount Gox.
I remember that was like 2011, right?
Yeah, and I got a letter from them in the email like a year later. Oh, we've refunded everybody's. You know, we're on the up and up. And I'm like, bullshit. I never got anything. So, yeah.
Yeah, let me blow your mind for some Liberty Geek facts. Mount Gox originally was for Magic the Gathering online exchange. It wasn't for Bitcoins. It was for Magic the Gathering cards, which I know this because I used to play Magic the Gathering before it got almost expensive as Bitcoin itself. And yeah, Randall knows what I'm talking about, because I'm gonna blow everyone's mind and not even give him a chance to stop me. He used to play Magic, so he knows how expensive it is.
I'm ashamed.
Yeah, but now if only you could like use your Bitcoins to make Magic decks. Oh my God. Anyways,
you just blew my mind, bro.
I know, right? But yeah, I just want to say R.I.P. Mount Gox and all those people that get screwed over.
Did they just transfer businesses, kind of? They're like, oh, well, we could do this too.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's kind of how it started. Was like, and like their Magic to get it worked the same way. We're like, okay, let's say I wanted a Avatar of Woe for my Legacy deck. I don't know why I would. It's a good card, but I don't know why I wanted my Legacy deck. But I could go on Mount Gox, and I could look and see, oh, this card averages for this price. And it kind of sort of works similar to Bitcoin, where they could go on and just say, my Bitcoin averages for about this price in the dollar. So I could look through all the people that are selling Avatar Woe, see that they're averaging in about $17, and then I could either buy that or I could sell mine for $15 to undercut everyone. But I mean, when you think about it, at the end of the day,
people could do that with their points, could they not? Could they not do that with their points at their like how we were just talking about that before? Like, I have a bunch of points for this company, but I don't want to use that.
Let me jump in, because that's a fundamental point that like I really want to make sure people are clear on, like in the audience, is that they are very different. So like you're right to point that out, but it's actually super different. So yes, MT Gox or whatever, or this exchange or that exchange have gone down. Guess what? We should be wanting that. Like that's what we want. We want businesses to do poorly and then have all their customers get fucked. Pardon my language, but the alternative is we bail out companies with the state. There is no like other way of doing it. It's either free market or state. We're so used to the conditioning of the state that we think we can have free market without having businesses fail. No, the businesses that fail
that's not how it
get
works.
out of the way so that the good ones can do better. Right or wrong? I mean, I don't know.
That's an awesome point. That actually brings us right back around where we started with the government has no accountability. Well, corporations have no accountability either because it's always win-win. It's either win with profits or win by being protected by the government. So you actually make a really good point that the failure of Mt. Gox is an actual really good sign for Bitcoin.
So Cody, when they sent you that thing, did they give you anything to be able to say, hey, no, I haven't got my money yet, or is there any way you can go after them for that, or are you just left in the water?
This company was a few years ago. I wish I could remember the name of it. It was because this was a while ago.
Search your email, man. Search if you know the email. Search the old archives. That's what I always do when I can't remember something. I go like just March of 2007. I like go back. I'm like.
As glitchy as glitchy as this podcast has been, I'm kind of nervous to open up any more tabs. But
we'll be right now.
But yeah, to answer your question, no, I literally left the Bitcoin on the exchange and then kind of got distracted, and then saw through Facebook that it was like. The first big spike, I forget, it was like up over $200, and I was like, oh crap, I paid $17 for those, So I went back to the exchange, and that just did not even exist anymore. They got put out of business. At first, they were promising to reopen. They were moving to Mexico or something and reopening, and then that just kind of fell by the wayside, and then pretty soon they just disappeared. And yeah.
I feel like I have to really jump in when it sounds like there's like all this naysaying of Bitcoin, and I know you're not naysaying Bitcoin, but to the uninitiated listener or viewer, they're gonna hear like, yeah, this one guy's saying Bitcoin's so great, but everyone else is talking about all their scary stories that happened and how they lost all this money.
Yeah, but everything.
No, I claim full responsibility for this. And in fact, I'll just jump on right now and just tell you, like, it's totally my fault. So if you earn money from an employer, let's just put it this way: if you earn money on a contract, let's say you had a 2-month contract, you did some work for somebody, and then he goes to give you a check, and you say, oh no, just keep that check for me for a while, will you? We'll get back together next time I see you down the road. And this was a contract, not just an employer, but just a 2-month contract. And then I move away. Right. I can't hunt that guy down 3 years later and say, dude, where's my fucking check? You're supposed to be. Yeah, I abandoned it. So just to clarify for anybody watching, I'm the dumbass who left all that stuff on the exchange. I knew better at the time. I was just too lazy.
Now you're making me feel bad, Cody. Now I feel bad. But what I was going to say is that you, as an early adopter, you pay a price. I pay a price to be an early adopter too. I buy video game systems that fail, like Chuck knows. You buy a Dreamcast, and then like, years later, you're sitting there with like your 40 games and all your controllers and VMUs, and you're like, ooh.
Yeah, when the Dreamcast died, that was a sad day in gaming.
That provides richness to the market, and if we don't go for that, we go for the state where we have one brand of chocolate and we have Soviet everything, and like not to single out the Russians, but you know what I'm saying. Every single state in the world is communist. That's what people think. There's actually non-communist governments. What is a non-communist government? Every single government collectivizes assets in order to redistribute them. Excuse me.
That's the point.
Communism.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Every statist in the world is a communist. And how could there be an anarcho-communist? That's a contradiction. I don't understand. I would love to meet someone that can explain that to me.
Well, I'll tell you. It's if I take your central power away and put it in my central power, well, now it's a good thing.
So if you put two negatives together, you get a positive?
Yes.
Is that how that works? Okay, just checking.
Yep, yeah.
Cool.
Remember, 2 thongs do make a right.
Yes, they do. By the way, the exchange was Trade Hill.
Okay. Well, but I want to say real quick, to make you not look like such a dumbass, not only did you early adopt, but the tools for you to protect your Bitcoin were not there then. You had to really know the programming stuff. Now, we have coming out, let me just tell some really easy, fun things that people love about Bitcoin right now. We have, except for in America, I'm going to do this on my next week's show, or my show tomorrow. But
no, do it right now!
All right, I'll do it right now. There was a card coming out called Zappo, and it was a Bitcoin MasterCard. Chuck, you always get me to do whatever the hell you want. And I just got a notification. I've been waiting on pins and needles for 3 months for this thing to finally, because I was on the pre-order list. I saw it on Reddit, and I was like on the cutting edge of it. I was probably like number 2,000 or something maybe. Whatever, not to brag. I'm just pointing out I've been excited for this thing, and I get a notification 2 weeks ago. It's shipping. You're ready. You're getting yours. What's your address? I'm like, tell my girlfriend, like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, we're not gonna have to worry about banks anymore. I'm gonna do most of my social media and online work through Bitcoin. I'm gonna get paid right. Of course, it's not gonna work because there's a MasterCard logo on it. Think about it. That's like an arm of the state. So what ended up happening is it's going to be available everywhere in the world except for America right now. I think China and North Korea or something like that. But mostly everywhere in the world will have a Zappo MasterCard. So the way this works is you go to buy Bitcoins from local Bitcoins or Coinbase, which is very easy. It takes 2 seconds. Or you can ask a friend, I'll send you some Bitcoin. You can PayPal me some money. That's the best way because you don't have to worry about trust. Trust is already built in. It's your friend. So anyway, what was I going to say? So you would just transfer money from, if you can do a Bitcoin transfer, which is the only thing it's like, if you can ride a bike, you can do a Bitcoin transfer. It's just, you type in, I would like to send this much, and then you copy and paste the person's address, and you go send. That's it. It's really easy. And they're making it even easier. Coinbase has a new thing now called like profiles or something where I could just go, like in like Facebook, and go, I'm going to send 2 Bitcoin to Chuck, and like, I don't have to copy and paste the code. I just go Chuck.
Dude, I'll take 2 free Bitcoins. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's like $1,200. I don't have that. I wish I was that rich. I would be generous like that, but I'm not that rich yet. So soon.
All right, let's make Randall rich so I can get 2 Bitcoins.
Yay!
So this MasterCard, how does it work as far as do they need to accept the Zappo card or do they just MasterCard?
It's a MasterCard. Like, you know how like you can get like a TD Bank card with the MasterCard logo, or you can get like a Macy's credit card or something, like a prepaid card or whatever, like green dots or whatever. It's just like MasterCard and Visa just broker out their network to anybody that wants to do payment processing. So the problem that was solved is the fact that merchants can't all take Bitcoin. Even the ones that say, oh yeah, I love Bitcoin. There's probably, I think the number's over 10 or 30,000 or something like that now, known merchants that are listed on different websites around the world that accept Bitcoin. And that's going to grow to where it's an irrelevant number, where it's 10 million or 2 million or whatever. It's growing and growing. So, but there's still always going to be a lot, the majority that for a long time that don't. So what Zappo?
It transfers it into like U.S. dollars or whatever dollar that.
Let's just say you take $1,000 of Bitcoin and you put it in your Zappo wallet. It's just as good as having $1,000 at a checking account. You can go anywhere that MasterCard's accepted: diners, restaurants, online shopping, and spend.
And to apply for this, do you need to go through the whole same process as like credit cards, where you need
of course, because the state.
Okay.
The state, yeah, know your customer laws. Dude, I bought a green dot reloadable card, and I had to put my social security number. I had to answer 3 security questions. I had to tell them the first car I had. I had to tell them what elementary school I went to and the town I was born in. Like, they don't already know that, but I don't want that being, like, I don't like being asked those questions to make a transfer of $100 or something. Like, it's crazy.
I guess people still do have those things on your phones, the QR codes that you can scan. But you almost wish that it was an option as well. Like, I'm not going to pay with my credit card. I'm not going to pay with my debit card. I'm not going to pay with a gift card. I'm going to pay with my Bitcoin card because I want to be completely anonymous as possible or whatever, right? Like,
well, it will be, and you don't need the card. So that's the thing. Like, just get Bitcoin. Like, if you have Bitcoin, you can have, let's say I don't know, it's a lot of money to everyone that's listening, but like, let's say 1,000 was a lot of money. Okay. You could have $200 in your checking account. You could have $200 in cash in your bedside table for odds and ends or whatever, your spendable money. And then you could have 200 in, let's say 250, just to make it less things. You have 250 in stocks, and you can have 250 in Bitcoin. And of your 250, I'm not saying like take all your money and put in Bitcoin. Of your 250 little chunk of your money that's in Bitcoin, put 60 or 80% of that in cold storage, meaning it's and I know that sounds like crazy things, but in 6 months from now, there's going to be things at Walmart where you can go get a Bitcoin wallet. That's the actual physical thing that you can like sync it with your phone and like get a Bitcoin. Like, it's going to get easier and easier and easier. But I'm trying to get people like you guys and the listeners and viewers who kind of get it already to say like, all right, this guy's going on and on about it. Like, he's not that crazy. He's a little crazy, but he's onto something. There's something here. This is gonna be something.
The one thing that I think that could be the beneficial part is that odds and ends part that you said, keeping that $200 in your bedside table. Eventually, like obviously I'd like to see it where you don't have fiat currency or whatever, right? And what's going to replace that? And I'm thinking of something like that, like a little card or something like that you could bring to every store and have them scan.
Well,
and all
it's
that.
on your phone. So like, here's the thing. So like, I kind of I always get into tangents, but I'm working on that. But the chunk that you have in Bitcoin, some of it I'm saying keep in a safe place. Keep it on your computer. I think we might have lost Garrett again. Oh no, you're gone. Good. Keep it in a safe place. Keep it just like you keep your money in a safe place. Keep your Bitcoin on a part of your hard drive. Like you can have I'm going to tell some terms. There's a web wallet and there's what they call a hot wallet or a cold wallet. So there's different kinds of wallets, but these are just slang words to mean things that are really common sense. So a web wallet is online. A hot wallet is hot because it opens and closes a lot. It's the wallet you use for your transactions, but it's on your computer. So it's not a web wallet. It's a disk-based, whatever. It's not cold storage. Cold storage is something that's not connected to the internet. So you transfer your Bitcoin into a wallet file, and it's stored on let's say a little SD card, and you put that in a safe and bury that in the fucking ground. You can go open that safe in 10 years and plug it into a computer if there's still computers that take that plug thing, and you can have whatever that's worth. It can't be stolen from you in any other way because 256-bit encryption, you don't need to know what that means. Just know that I'm telling you that'd
take years to break, like even a supercomputer.
Yeah, like the power of the
Well, in 10 years, what if in 10 years that's good
then
enough
they update the encryption.
No, Garrett, sorry. I'm a little bit of a crazy person about this stuff. I don't want any misconceptions out there.
I love it.
I don't want any misconceptions out there. If they had all the supercomputing power in the world running for, I think, 7 months straight, or 7 years straight or something like that, I say they, like I mean the bad guys, they could do one double spend transaction. They could fraud one block. And as soon as the blockchain, there's been 3 or 4 times the blockchain is forked. They call it a fork, where the miners are producing 2 different accounts of what happened. And it's been fraud, it's been a glitch in the code before, it's been malicious attack. But as soon as it happens, after 2 or 3 blocks, the master nodes, like the main network parts of it, like the developers and the mining pools and stuff, they get notified. Their wallets are built in deeper, like they have harder coded stuff to where they know something's wrong, and they literally get like a little like red little like you're screwed, watch out thing, like, and that only happened a few times. But when that happens, all the developers get together and go, what the hell is happening? And they all go, let's fix this, let's stop this. And there's been times where the blockchain has actually been stopped where like you can't send it, you go to send a transaction, it doesn't go. It doesn't need a state. There's no president. There's no one voted on that. Everyone in the community.
Obama didn't have to sign an executive order on it.
It's like your body when you're sick. Like you don't have to like ask your body, oh, could you fight that cold for me real quick? Like it just knows what to do naturally.
It's self-incentivizing for them to protect it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. To protect the integrity. Nobody can benefit from it losing its integrity. That's kind of the impression I get from the 51% attack theory by Harvard or whatever that was, and that. But that 51% holder would not have any incentive to bring it down, because they have a bigger incentive than anyone actually to keep the integrity of the coin.
Yep.
So.
Well, I also kind of want to point out something, Randall, that you mentioned, and I don't know if you knew this already, but when you said the Zappos card was not coming to the United States, this isn't the first time. The United States has missed out on so many different payment technologies out there. Like in Korea, my Samsung right here, Samsung, they've been using their phones as their credit cards for God knows how long. You walk by your phone, the cash register guy, he has like a receiver right there. Tap your phone against it with the near field communications, and you pay it just like a credit card. And we've missed so many of those types of payments. And we're also one of the few countries left in the world that still only uses a 3-digit code on the back of our credit cards as security. Like other countries have these things where they have like holographic things on their cards that you actually have to be able to. I don't understand how it works because I don't have one, but like they have like these holographic things on their cards, and like you have to be able to read these holographic things, which means that You couldn't just take a picture of the back of someone's card and have the security code right there because it's holographic and doesn't need to be seen by the eye. And we've missed
There's a thing called M-Pesa, which is in some developing nations. I think I don't want to name a nation, that'd be wrong, but I think India it's popular, and I think in Africa as well. But so M-Pesa is a totally like I don't say made up currency, but that's you say something about any currency is made up. But basically, it relates the monetary base for it is cell phone minutes. So that's something that's a fungible good. A cell phone minute is good for anybody to use to call anybody else. So the idea of M-Pesa is instead of having minutes to actually talk with, you have minutes as a currency, and you just barter and sell those. And there's a lot of transactions happening in M-Pesa, and it's a gray area because it's centralized, and the state would like to come in, but you can't enforce that a company can't offer their customers to transfer minutes to one another. Like if they want to offer that, like they're using it. It's like if I started using seashells and like this government came and knocked them out of my hands. Like I can't trade this person seashells for a back massage or something right now. Like where is the line? So the point is that with this M-Pesa thing, it's the same as Bitcoin. And there was something called e-gold in like 2002, which came out, which was an idea of like doing an online gold backed by real gold, and that got raided because it was centralized. So they knew where to go get the gold and arrest people.
There's a gold exchange I know of though that's doing the Bitcoin thing. I don't know if that's still up and running or not, but they were set up pretty legit. Like they would have the ledgers, and they'd say, hey, this gold is transferring from this guy to that guy or whatever, and he's buying that. Like you actually had the physical holdings. It was somewhere off the coast of England or something like that.
It's like a what's it called, derivative market. So like there's actually a person, or not a person, there's a group of people. I was in a chat, but I wasn't really talking to them much. I was just kind of watching this a few weeks ago. They're actually talking about making, and I thought of this before and dismissed it as a stony baloney idea, but they're talking about making a fiat coin, so that you could send dollars or euros or whatever instantly like Bitcoin, because there's just a reserve or a pool somewhere in a cold storage that acts as a base for the exchange. So like you could literally like use Bitcoin to buy dollars and send dollars instantly instead of sending Bitcoin. Like you could send dollars or euros. It's not out yet, but
oh, okay, but that couldn't operate for sure within like anywhere.
It's the same as the gold thing, kind of. You know what I mean? It's just with paper currency, but paper currency will eventually go to its true value, which is zero. It has no actual functional value.
Faster and faster as time goes on, too.
Yeah.
So one last thing, or maybe more than one last thing, but I'm curious if you know anything about Cody Wilson's dark wallet and the implications of it and the need for it and what's going on there with it.
I just want to say Cody Wilson is like up there with Steve Jobs on my list of people that I really get inspired by just like watching them speak alone. Like I'm just like, oh my god, this guy is so genius and gifted and motivated. Like he's not. Some people are powerful or smart or whatever, like Molyneux, and I like him too. But and they don't hate on themselves very much. Like a little playful, like self-deprecation humor is funny, but where you actually believe you're a good person. Like you can't be great and then not think you're great. So anyway, Cody Wilson's like a hero of mine, but I don't know if dark wallet is the answer, because the thing is, when he thought of it, he was the only one doing it, and now there's like 7 or 8 coins that have dark send features. Where, granted, I didn't go and edit their code and or whatever it's called.
Fork?
No, you can audit.
Audit code. Yeah.
It's a common practice in the development community when you make a piece of programming to say this does what I say it does, to have like 2 or 3 other really noteworthy programmers to look at the code and say, and they do an official document where they sign and put their Skype information or whatever. They do something to say this is really me and it's out there and people know, okay, this guy said it and we can trust him too.
Yeah, like Firefox, how they like to do their coding, they'll basically say, hey, we put out an update, audit us because we're an open source project, and
Right.
So
in terms of like, I mean, I trust Cody Wilson probably more than some of these other coins, but then again, without naming this one over that one, because I don't want to state an allegiance to one coin or anything like that. I think that he's more of like a revolutionary, to answer your question. Like, I think he's just laying groundwork, and then just like with the what was the gun thing he did, the Liberator or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not to digress again, but could you maybe just explain for those who don't know what we're talking about, if Bitcoin is touted as being anonymous and secure, why do we need a dark wallet, and what is a dark wallet or a dark?
I totally missed the actual like important learning lesson in that. I just got obsessed over Cody Wilson and my little boy crush on him, but not in a gay way, just in a like he's my hero.
What's wrong with that?
No, nothing wrong with gay people. Me and my friends back in the day had this thing where we talk about wanting to eat someone's skin, and it creeped everyone out because they thought we were cannibals. But it was our saying to mean like if you eat we had this joke that if you ate someone's skin, you would gain their powers. I don't know where it came from, but like we made that up and like it stuck. So that's kind of what it is. I just want to gain his powers. Like I just want to fucking gain his mental power in my brain. But to flesh that out, so Bitcoin is not anonymous; it's pseudo-anonymous. So meaning it's has anonymizing aspects to it, to where if you know how to use it, or you're using software or sites or whatever that provide built-in, or just use a coin that like dark coin itself is anonymous. There's a jumbling in the back end of it built in to where you never get the same coins you had before. And dark coin went from 86 cents back in February to over $16 in June, July, and now back down to $4 or $5. Because dark coin sucks? No, because there's a lot of other coins doing what dark coin was the only one doing for a second. So Cody Wilson made a way to anonymize Bitcoin in the wallet, so I can just click send regular or send dark send. And I
okay, so what's the, if there's any way you could dumb it down for like right. For the technical sense, why is it more, or why is it this actually anonymous and Bitcoin not?
Okay, so when you receive Bitcoin, you have to at least make your receiving address known to somebody. The person that's sending it to you. But usually it's something that's somewhat public about you. You give it to, Coinbase, or because like all these sites that you work with, like these exchanges and stuff, they all, at least the American ones and certain other countries, have to report, like the European ones, the Canadian ones. You might get one in Russia or one in Somalia or something that's not reporting, and you run the risk that they're gonna scam you one day and run away with the coins. But you also get to do some maybe whatever kind of transactions you don't want the United States government to know about in those exchanges. But so what happens is, let me just give a rundown. So I'm in Bitcoin right now, and I create a wallet at blockchain.info. There's no direct tie to say this is me, because I don't have to put in an email address or my name or my date of birth or anything on blockchain.info. I just go new wallet, and it gives me a wallet. I can tell you, Garrett, I could text you, or I could just tell you, like you could be sitting next to me and say, all right, send me Bitcoin to this address. No one's tapping us, no one's watching us. So you go, okay, cool,
okay.
Man. You send it to that address. The only thing that they could kind of trace is the IP address. If they were actually rooted on my computer, if they were like monitoring me, they could say, like, there's a ping on that server from your IP at the exact time when that wallet was created. But they have to be actually on you to get that information. And then you're already kind of in their web.
Okay, so what is a dark coin then? How does that more anonymous?
So so with dark coin, it is kind of hard to dumb down, but essentially it does the magic for you. But it isn't magic. What happens is when you send or receive any kind of cryptocurrency, it uses the same technology as encrypted messaging. If you ever heard of PGP encryption, that's how anybody, companies or governments, it's a way of communicating.
Okay, so like any like credit card or whatever would be kind of through that, I guess.
It's encryption as well, but like so PGP encryption. I'm getting nerdy, but I'm trying to get people to realize that this is not crazy stuff. It's actually cool. It's actually easy to understand. So basically, what happens with Bitcoin is take I don't even know, 47 character long thing or whatever. That's actually 98, so 96. So a long ass string of characters, chop that in half. Half of that goes hidden in your in your computer somewhere in that wallet file, which is hidden. Okay. The other half you publish out and you say, look, this is my wallet address. So when they send you coins, that's how the Bitcoin network knows it's going to you, because they said go to this, but they only have half your code. So what makes it anonymous is that when I have Bitcoin, like for example, I'm going to tell someone my secrets right now, but I have a wallet called Multibit. Okay. Multibit, you can have as many Bitcoin wallets as you want within one wallet. So when I get coin, I'll send it to myself like 5 or 6 times. Open a new wallet, send it here, send a little bit here, send 2 to this one, then one there. And when it all comes back together, or it doesn't have to, maybe I'm buying something for $20 with this and $50 over there. So they can't look at that and say, he's sending it all to himself. From the outside looking in, it looks just like I sent it to other, like, I have customers that pay me for websites in Bitcoin. I always think, like, are they going to see me take the money out of my wallet and go, like, oh, he's not going to do the website because he just took the money out real quick, or he's a poor person, and he, like, no, because people move money around. Like, I might take it out and move it from my business account to my operating account, or to, like, they don't know what that next account means. They don't know if it's local Bitcoin. They don't know if it's my other wallet. They just saw that it moved. So you see how it's not completely stealth, but you have to be a detective if you want to figure out who's doing what.
Yeah.
That
makes sense.
Garrett's Bitcoin, ooh, you know.
Speaking of detectives, I was wondering if maybe I could bring up a topic right quick since we have 20 minutes in. It's not a big topic, but it was more of a question that I wanted to bring up to everyone. Okay, so let me think about how to phrase this. So we all know that the state is monitoring us through our Google usage, or basically any sort of usage on the internet. We're being monitored, and that information is being given to the government. So my question is let's pretend in our fantasy land that there is no state, right? It's just anarcho-capitalism, and and it's just us, and the corporations that provide us the services. So what if a service said in their contract, in exchange for using our service, we retain the right to use some or all of your information as part of our marketing division to sell as ad data, but they're not giving it to a state to monitor you. Would you be okay with this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would.
Not in every case, but sometimes.
That was fast. That was fast.
Yeah. The thing is that I think people get really hung up on anonymity on the internet and privacy and everything. If you don't want Facebook stealing your information, don't be on Facebook. Like, this is kind of a given. It's fucking Facebook. Like, you're already putting out there where, you checked in at this restaurant at that time and you took pictures of yourself drunk at that point, you don't want to put that shit up there. So it's on you, And so I think that there's kind of an inherent risk that's accepted when people get online and transact with these companies. Now, the one thing that does bother me about Google, not so much the selling of information to the government or even for marketing, but in search results, like, they're very tainted to your preferences. Mm-hmm. And I would like to think that I, even though I have this anarchist bent, and we're all on the same page, all 4 of us here, but I would still like to have information from the other side of the argument, if you will. And when I know that if I put something in a Google search, that I'm going to get results back that are basically that, Obama is shit, and I'm going to get Ron Paul results, and I'm going to get a whole bunch of stuff that somebody else is not going to see if they put in the exact same search query. So that's one way I have a little bit of a problem with our dependence on companies like Google and them setting up these preferences that kind of shape our outlook on life and our view.
Like with AdSense and stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So even though I say, like, I'd accept it when it is a free market, it doesn't mean that I don't expect a better quality as well, right? Like, I expect that there would be a lot more people trying to monitor which things are doing, what companies are.
That.
Yeah. Right, and we are doing it right now. It's just the shitty part is we can't really do anything about it. Like, we only have so many choices, right? Hopefully, with the free market, we're gonna have as many choices as the market demands, right?
Yeah, and that's a fantastic point. Is that we see in almost every industry. Like the big three cable networks, I mean, that's kind of one of the first examples that I can think of just off the top of my head, but it just keeps going over and over and over again. When VCRs came out, there was like 50 million different kinds of VCRs. Exaggeration, but after a while, it was Sony and it was Panasonic, and there was like 3 or 4 companies, and then the next big wave, and DVDs come out, and every time a technology comes out, there's this massive choice in the market, and then it's always funneled down to 2 or 3. But I don't think that's necessarily a natural market occurrence. I think a lot of that has to do with government protectionism, and as soon as you start to put in regulation, it shuts all those little companies out. They can't keep up with the cost of regulation, and so you're left with 2 or 3 big fucking companies like Comcast, which I've been bitching about online for the last. If any of you are friends of mine on Facebook, you saw my memes I was making, pissed me off so bad. So it's not the same thing.
I was gonna say that typically happens a lot, especially within the tech industry or in any related industries. I mean, look at what happened. Look what happened with I mean, if Linux hasn't been so open in the first place, where Linux isn't necessarily made for profit, I think we'd only see like 2 big distros being used. But I mean, look what happened. There was always more than just. It used to be more than Windows and Mac. It used to be Windows, Mac, Linux, BSD, and then we had DVD, then we had HD DVDs, and then, I mean, we always had all this and then we always had all this competition, but then like somebody would always come out on top every single time, and it's not, and more so than other industries like tech industries. Like, how many people, how many tech companies that can you name right now? Like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like, how many operating systems can you name off the top of your head, like right now, and what companies are associated with them? Like Windows.
I would say 1 or 2 probably.
Yeah, Apple. You basically have Apple, Windows, and Google with Android. That's pretty much it. That's like the only ones that anyone knows that make like operating systems.
Yeah, well, in a lot of those cases, though, it is regulation that causes that, not only for financial reasons, but actual legislation. Like, you take DVDs and stuff, a lot of the big movie companies and such, they pass legislation to get that shit to be universal so that they can, make money, like they can get their movie in everybody's home if everybody has the same format. And so they push for legislation to basically force these manufacturers to only make one type of medium in the past.
A really great example of this, USB. No. Yeah, USB. Let's go with that. Everyone knows what a USB is, a universal serial bus, all right?
Well, they don't know that, but they know the
Okay, fine, but they all know that, like, almost every piece of technology in the world uses USB, a USB plug of some sort, whether it be USB or mini USB, USB 2, USB 3. But did you know that the standard, that someone's actually making money off the standard? And that they push for that standard to be their standard to be the only standard in technology, because so they could make money off of people putting USB on their devices and stuff like that?
That's licensed?
Mm-hmm. USB is licensed. The only standard I can think of that really isn't licensed is DisplayPort, but DisplayPort, no, not many, unless you're like a monitor or like visual experienced technological person. Yeah. Who actually? It's kind of funny. Apple was the one who made a DisplayPort, and they were the ones who put it out. Ironically, as much hate as I put on Apple, and I give them a lot of hate.
Was that Apple? Apple didn't make FireWire, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, what am I thinking of? Not FireWire.
You're thinking of Thunderbolt.
No, yeah, Thunderbolt, right.
Yep.
FireWire is different, though.
Yeah, but Apple put out FireWire and said, anyone can use this for free.
I didn't know that.
That's like cool. The one cool thing Apple has ever done.
Well, about that.
Literally the one cool thing.
I think Apple's pretty damn cool. I think you're selling them pretty short there.
Okay, I hate most of their fucking products because they make these products.
Have you used one?
Yes.
Which one?
I've had, let's see, almost every school I went to
No,
has
have
used
you
Macs.
owned an Apple product?
Have I owned an Apple product? Yes, I had like one of those old iPods where they still had the circles for
And now
navigation.
it's gangster. But dude, if you got a MacBook Pro, I know they're expensive, and I bought a used
I
one.
hate Unix. I hate Unix as a backend code, but that's a completely different thing. Like,
Whatever, dude. My computer is old. It's an '08, and it's got a little tweak to it. But dude, it is so
let me
gangster.
explain to you why I don't like Apple though. I hate Apple
The
because
aesthetics of it, dude. The buttons, it all like it. I
no,
hate
no,
when
no.
I get like
I
a
hate
Samsung or something
Apple
else, and like the
because
button will break. It'll click. It'll get stuck. My computer's
No.
so diesel.
my problem with my problem with Apple is more of it's less political and more of a like
Funny you just say that. I just crashed on my fucking MacBook.
Oh, dude, mine crashes all the time too. It's a computer. Every computer will crash. Doesn't matter.
No, my problem with Apple is like they'll make these like I'll admit they have some really talented programmers and designers and stuff like that, but when it
Right.
comes to making the actual physical machinery, they literally scrape up from like the bottom of the barrel and then
No
mark
way.
it up
You're
by
out of
like
your mind,
a
dude.
million%. No, I'm not. They use Foxconn parts, which are literally like the most piece of crap pieces of computer
Dude,
technology.
my iPhone 5S
ever
is
get.
more of a solid phone than any phone you could ever show me. Show me any phone that's more. It's not, dude. If you threw yours against the wall, and you
It's
threw mine,
solid for the time that you have it,
if
right?
we
When
threw
it's
them
brand
both
new,
against
like,
the wall, mine would be fine. I'm not gonna throw my phone against the wall, but this phone
No,
has taken so much
hear
damage.
you. But
Dude.
no, that's my problem with Apple is they make these things and then it's like
You're just a
yeah, look
hater,
at our
brother.
great computers and it's like Foxconn parts and they're which are
Who
like
makes-
the
who
cheapest
makes
parts on
Samsung
the
phones?
market.
Who makes
Uh-huh.
Samsung phones? Who makes Samsung phones?
Actually, for a long time, iPhones were using Samsung processors.
Dude, they're all made in the same Chinese factory. Is my point.
No, I know,
Doesn't matter.
but
I'm
I
saying
just hate I hate Apple because they
Apple
use
is
Foxconn.
pretty, dude. They actually give a fuck when they make a product. They put so much detail on where the logo goes and how centered and the font and
yeah. And then they give a
But then-
fuck
but
about
then-
making sure that it's not
Some
too
other
good, though,
product.
too.
But on the
Wait,
other
are
hand,
we-
Randall,
Are
I
we
can
trying
get
to
my
hate on- Are we trying to hate on companies that put in extra effort and make their products more detailed and more
No,
precise?
but
or
on
do they
the
want
other
just
hand,
generic
Randall-
boxes?
On the other hand, Randall, I can pick up my Android device and completely customize it all I want, down to the ridiculous ass keyboard that I
So
use.
can I. It's called a jailbreak. You just jailbreak it.
Yeah, but
It's still a
Apple doesn't
computer.
like. Yeah, okay, hold
my
on. You
handset is
can't
better
talk
than your
about
handset,
jailbreak like that's an
period.
Apple feature because Apple absolutely hates people that
I didn't say
do
it was a
that.
feature. I said you're free to do it. I said it's
Yeah,
possible.
but I can do it as a feature, and I don't have to risk voiding
And
my
look,
warranty
I
to do
want to
it.
just make it clear because these rants are so crazy. I have these with a lot of people, the Apple Samsung rants or the Apple Microsoft rants. I'm not even just an all Apple person. When I sit down on a Windows computer, sometimes I'm like, oh, this is like old school. I miss this. Like I get into it too. I think that it's like driving a Ford, driving a Chevy. You can have your favorite, but
I'll admit,
hate.
I will admit when it comes to computers, I'm kind of sort of a Google fanboy and a Microsoft fanboy. I'll kind of admit it. I love Android and I love Windows. Like I actually.
I used to be that way.
Yeah, I
Couple years
used
ago.
to be on the Windows 8 hate bandwagon, and then I actually got to try Windows 8.1, and I was like, I can't go back.
I heard
can't
good
go
things
back.
about Windows 8.
It's
I heard really good things.
Recently, it's
from
good.
someone I trust.
What people complain about is just the way it looks, but it's pretty much just under the cover. It's basically just Windows 7 programming, but more streamlined and efficient, and runs like a million times better. But back to my original question, so that people wonder
Right.
where the politics is that I would be obviously it depends on a case by case basis, but for example, if let's say Google said that in order to use our search engine from now on with no state involved, they said we get to use what you search, your demographics that you share with us, and we get to take those and specifically target ads to you, as well as sell that data to other ad companies so they can target ads to you. I'd be like, okay. Because I would say the worst that you can do to me, Google, is if there's no state involved, the worst Apple can do to me, the worst that Google could do to me is basically just try to sell me something really cool. The worst Apple
and it's going to be helping you find really cool shit that you want to get. It's like that. What movie
Plus,
is that? Where he steps into the store and they're like, "Hello, we need to." we know what you already like, you know. Like I don't.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's cool. I like that idea.
There's an entrepreneurial bent about this too that I think Google gets sold short on, and that is Google AdWords and how easy they are for anybody to use. I can do market research that I probably would have to pay tens of thousands of dollars for 10 years ago, and I can do it in a couple of hours for free. Because all I have to do is put in some keywords, and it'll show me the stats, and it'll show me who's clicking on where, and geography, and all sorts of demographics. That shit you used to have to pay an advertising firm thousands of dollars to go out and research for you, and now you can do it as an entrepreneur. I freaking love it because I can access that information. It's pretty awesome, and I think
it literally is just the state that kind of, you know, like taints the whole thing of just privacy stuff. Like, I think when I argue for internet privacy, I argue for internet privacy against the state specifically, because, like, you know, Google can't throw. I mean, maybe they can, but as far as I've heard, Google can't throw me in prison. Google can't waterboard me. Well, because I already know what I'm searching for one thing. But you know, the government can throw me in prison and waterboard me, and no one will look twice. If Google did it, there'd be a lot of, you know, I think there'd be a lot of backlash against Google for, you know, putting someone in Google jail, which might be a cool product, though.
And private companies have zero incentive to lock their clients up, you know, and zero incentive to shit. What I was going to say. To censor.
A lot of money to do that.
And they don't have any incentive to censor either. The government is the only one that has an incentive to censor or to lock people up for bad behavior.
I mean, yeah, name one incentive.
No. One incentive to censor would be to censor their competition, for sure.
Okay, fine, but if Google starts censoring their competition, they're gonna, you know, a lot of people are gonna hear about it. You know.
Actually,
right.
That's a
there's reputation to take into account there.
But keep in mind, the state isn't restricting that. So Google can completely wipe out all of Facebook's search results out of its search engine if they want to, all of Yahoo's. There's no law preventing that. They're doing that voluntarily because if Google screwed over Yahoo, then Yahoo would say, all right, well, screw you, Google, and I'm an ally with, you know, they realize it's better to not.
I'll go with Bing.
Right, yeah.
Even though everyone hates Bing, they'll start using it.
It's the theory of cooperation versus cheating, though, and a lot of the time it can be beneficial for you to cooperate, I guess. I don't know.
Plus, like Chuck said, they're also ancestral. Like, if Apple failed, that would make the parts for Samsung phones cost more because, like, Foxconn would have to make less volume, and, like, it really, like, honestly, Microsoft has bailed out Apple a few times. If you look in the history of the two companies, like,
they have a lot of patents between Apple and Microsoft that only they are allowed to use interchangeably with each other. Like, you never see Apple actually go after Microsoft, and that's because
I think that's a good thing, though.
I know, but they have so many agreements. You know, it's the same thing that happened when you know, that's why they don't go after Samsung as much as they should, because, you know, as a Samsung fanboy, I'll blatantly admit that.
Would it be such a bad thing for companies like that to censor each other? And I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it would be, because maybe they're that good that you're.
You think no one would ever hear about it?
No, I'm sure if people heard about it, but they would just say, hey, like, I don't care. I'm just going to keep my money in this one. And I'm saying as far as like as a profit. Okay, I guess it would be bad for the consumer. That's true.
Well, also,
but for the producer, that's in their incentive to do that, and that could make. I don't exactly think that that's immoral of them to do that.
Let me before Cody shuts me down, because it's almost midnight here. And I know he really wants to, but I would argue that, okay, so let's say I'm Google, and I type in Yahoo, and I censor any Yahoo strings, right? Well, all Yahoo, I mean, Google has this history of, you know, trying not to censor things, and, you know, if word got out that Google was censoring their competition, I mean,
I'm sure they are. I'm
maybe.
Sure they are. To some minor extent, like a fraction, like.
But you find that out, and then you start wondering, okay, well, what else is Google censoring for me? And then you can't trust them. I mean, it might be in the company's interest, but once they lose consumer trust, there's.
Let's be fair though. I don't trust Google at all right now.
I don't
It's
trust
not like
Google because of the government. That's pretty much
I
the
don't-
main
I
reason
don't
I
know
don't
if
trust Google.
I don't know if I'd trust any, even in a free market. I don't know if I'd trust them to be totally
in a f-
honest with you. And even if you did figure out that, hey, they're doing something, would you automatically, like, I don't know. It's hard to get into that because it goes on the market. It will be its own regulator, right? And I think that's true. It's a lot harder to really understand than just saying, yeah, like I'm just gonna not pay them anymore. I'm just gonna stop using them. Like it takes a lot of work to get that done.
To be fair, another thing that would stop Google from censoring out, let's say Yahoo again, right? I like to pick on Yahoo because Yahoo's trash. But but let's say Google stops censoring Yahoo, they still get ad money from Yahoo for other things. So if they start censoring Yahoo, Yahoo's going to be like, we pay you for these advertisements on behalf of other people. We're just going to go advertise with someone else. And Google's going to be like, no, wait, I need your ad money. So.
Yep. So guys, I haven't talked that much. I kind of let you guys run with it because of my technical difficulties tonight, but I appreciate all of you guys being here. I guess I get to make the final point since I stepped up and hosted. There's one other point about this competition in the truly private market is that there's no such thing as a corporation to hide behind. So individuals are accountable for this shit, and I think that the incentive for trust and truthfulness in companies would be far more than it is now without those government protections. So there's just another aspect to that. But you guys have been awesome. It's been really fun to talk to you. Randa, it was really good to meet you. I think that I can speak for Robert in saying that I'd love to have you back on this show, as well as the regular roundtable discussion that's normally from, when is it, guys? 8 to 10?
I believe.
8 to 10 Tuesday nights. I'm on the West Coast, so I always forget. But I appreciate all three of you being here, and hope to do it again.
I love doing it every time, Cody. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks. Have a good night, guys.
Like,